Hello everyone and welcome back to Back 10. We are officially off the pre-season, or some of us are. Kyle's still recovering from his post-season shoulder or knee surgery or whatever he's been getting up to, so he's not quite back yet. But the show is back. Me, Matt Shaw, as the host, standing in for Kyle. And whenever we are in need, as you know, there is one person we go to, our port of call, our SOS, Josh McAllister, who I'm sure you're all delighted / upset to see back on your screens. Josh, hello, welcome.
Hello.
It's been a while since we actually saw each other.
It has. It's been a few weeks. I'm at the bottom of your phone list, aren't I? And you're like, who can I get on this week on the show? But I'm always happy to answer and be here. And I know the comments will be happy too.
Well, you say this, you're actually the worst person in the world for answering your phone.
I am, yes.
The only person in the world that I know that doesn't use vibrate, just has his phone on silent.
Silent in a different room.
Unbelievable.
But when the show's calling, I know to answer.
Very true. Well, we've got quite a bit to catch up on. It's been around a month, hasn't it, since we were last on? So, and there has been quite a bit going on. Normally, this is the miserable month where all of the journalists scratch their heads and wonder what they're going to write about. But there has actually been quite a lot. The most recent and the saddest, but also probably the most inevitable, Salford, liquidated. Some would say put out of the misery. I would tend to agree. It's been when rather than if. I know that the ownership group have made out everything's fine and dandy and wonderful, and it's just been nonsense, hasn't it? The whole thing, as has been proven to be the case now. Try and, if you can, because I know it's incredibly difficult because there's so much to try and wrap your head around. Try and summarise your thoughts and feelings on what has happened and Salford being liquidated.
Yeah, you mentioned it there. It is sad, but it was inevitable, wasn't it? Everyone could see that this was coming. This was the fifth time that they went to court, and no one could see those funds that were promised landing. It's just been a shambles, hasn't it, from the start? I mean, this dates back to not just January when the sustainability cap was in. It was before then, wasn't it? It was maybe November of last year. So it's been going on for well over a year now. Yeah, it's been an absolute shambles the way it's been handled from top to bottom. But, you know, now there is a little bit of light at the end of the tunnel because of this potential Phoenix club. We already know there's a couple of interested parties ready to launch a new Salford club, and hopefully a club for the supporters to get behind to support in the Championship next year, which they've been scheduled into the fixtures. They're set to open the whole campaign against Oldham. The RFL, as we record now, are in a board meeting to see what the next steps are. So hopefully we do see Salford, and I think it's just 6 weeks' time. So whoever is going to start a new Phoenix club have a lot of work on their hands.
Just a word on the ownership group. I've never encountered anything like this in 10 years of working in rugby league media. I've just never known anything like it, to the point where they would promise a statement that would come out in 12 days and the statement would then not arrive, and then they'd put a statement out and would not acknowledge the statement that they promised. That
it was empty promises after empty promises after
100%.
empty promises.
Yeah.
And the silence was horrendous for the fans, for the players, for everyone involved. The silence was terrifying, wasn't it, for the sport? It was yesterday. On Tuesday Wednesday was a sad day for the sport and for Salford. But as you say, hopefully there's some light at the end of the tunnel now. But you're right, the owners, we've never seen anything like it in rugby league.
No, and you know what? I thought the reaction was telling, because I think for most of the fans it was actually relief that it was over, relief that they didn't have to put up with this nonsense again. They were already going down to the Championship anyway. We knew that. I mean, the fact that they never actually put in a request to be considered as the 13th or 14th team told its tale. And I suppose the positive for the supporters now is they know there are two consortiums. They know that there's a strong likelihood there will be a club. And at this point in time, as a Salford fan, you are probably just happy that there is a club to support, and one that isn't going to be clouded by all this nonsense of this ownership group that's been carrying on. You would hope that whichever consortium gets it have good intentions and will give them a stable club that they can support and fall in love with again.
Yeah, and passionate rugby league people. I mean, these owners, they said themselves, didn't they, the previous owners, that they weren't there for the rugby league. They weren't passionate rugby league owners. Now, I mean, this dragged on. This was the fifth time they've been in court. If it didn't drag on, they would have had a lot more time to prepare. Now they've got, as I say, a lot of work to do in 6 weeks. What we do know is former CEO Chris Irwin is one of the two, I think, parties that's interested in taking over, and the other one that's interested, Derek Bowman has been supporting, and he said in an interview yesterday, as Lee launched their shirt, which we might talk about later, that he's been helping them. There's sponsorship ready, there's money in the bank ready, there's passionate people, there's Salford people ready to go, and he's backing them. So hopefully, there's a little bit of optimism around the corner.
Yeah, I think the other consortium as well has a lot of credibility about it as well, from what I can hear, the one with Chris Irwin, and there's other people there involved. So positive signs in a horrible situation for Salford. I just hope we never see anything like it again.
That's what we need to learn from this, don't we? The RFL, everyone involved in the sport, need to learn from this process and make sure it never happens again.
Well, funnily enough, slightly related, but not really related, gradings has changed. Hasn't been officially announced yet, but we brought the story that gradings will remain. There was some, will they, won't they? Will we go back to promotion relegation? But gradings, which are divisive, as we know, remain and will select the clubs. However, there are changes to on-field. There'll be more emphasis on on-field that will produce more points. Finances change in that in the past it's looked on the 3 previous financial years rather than the present and the future. So Salford ended up with a higher financial score, which
was bonkers, wasn't it? When it came out?
Ridiculous, absolutely ridiculous. But then beyond that as well, the catchment goes, which I think everyone's pleased about, because let's be honest, you had no control over your catchment score and it wound everyone up. So I think the changes are positive and hopefully will help it won't rectify financial issues at clubs, but at least clubs are going to be punished if the finances in the here and now are poor compared to what we've seen in the past.
Yep, a welcome change, as you said. Probably the biggest one that the clubs and maybe players, I don't want to speak for players, might accept is that there's bigger emphasis on the results on the field. The higher you finish on the table, the more you get rewarded. That's the biggest one. That's the one that the supporters and the fans have been calling for. So that's the biggest welcome change, I think, as well, alongside the finances, to avoid anything like Salford happening again.
I agree. Just moving on from that, Magic Weekend. It's back. Or not back, it's staying. It's
not going anywhere.
It's not going anywhere. So after all that palaver earlier in the year, 14 teams, no loop fixtures. We've got to have 14 teams. We don't have loop fixtures. We've got to get rid of Magic. We have Magic. We have a loop fixture. I'm delighted. It's one of my favourite weekends of the year. I just find the whole thing laughable that all of the pro 14 team arguments from, let's be honest, the CEOs, Ken Davey came on and spoke and said the big thing was loop fixtures, came on this very show. They all spoke about that, and now we have a loop fixture.
Yep.
Couldn't write it.
No, you couldn't. That's Rugby League, isn't it? You can't write it. Was your first Google search Pop World Liverpool? Because obviously it's the Hill Dickinson Stadium that will host it for the first after the successful Ashes test.
I like Pop World in Liverpool because it opens at 3 p.m. So I might get game 1 done both days, and then I'm probably gone. Yeah, I'm probably gone. But yeah,
are you happy it's at the Hill Dickinson Stadium? Happy it's in Liverpool, and a bit of a change from Newcastle?
Caught in two minds, because I love Newcastle. I think Newcastle's a perfect venue for Magic Weekend. It's family friendly around the ground. You can roll into bars for the adults. The atmosphere in the nightlife's fantastic. I like the ground. Everton, the stadium is unbelievable, which we saw in the Ashes. You can have a fantastic atmosphere, which we saw. I think it's ever so slightly smaller capacity-wise than St James's Park, which maybe helps as well. Flip side, not as close to the nightlife and the entertainment of the city. There were a few issues with the second test with transport links. And the other thing, geographically, are fans from clubs local to there, your St Helens's particularly, are they going to treat it like a weekend away, or do they just come for a day and go? So a few reservations, but I'm not against it either. I've very much sat on the fence there, haven't I? But
you have, yeah.
But that's where I'm at with it.
But it was great at the Ashes, and the good thing, and I think we talked about this before, is the RFL utilising that space out the front of the stadium. There's loads of space there. They should make that sort of a fan party. We talked about the sort of hub that's opposite St James's Park, and using that as an official sort of party, sort of central for fans to go to before and during. Everton has that loads of space, doesn't it, in front of it? So hopefully we can see a little bit of a party atmosphere outside there. But yeah, I'm glad it's at Hill Dickinson Stadium. I know there was talk of Rugby League returning there. I think Rugby League needed to return there because we saw the success. It's too small for a grand final. I know there was talk. There's always, for years now, there's been talk of moving away from Old Trafford, but it's just too small, isn't it? I think 56,000 capacity. You need something bigger that for the showpiece event of Super League. So I'm glad that the grand final wasn't considered or isn't going there, but I'm glad it's staying in the sport as well. We're going back next year.
I mean, Old Trafford's going to stay for a while, isn't it? It's got
2027, yeah.
So
the same as Wembley.
Wouldn't shock me if the Etihad gets...
Well, interestingly, that's the name that RL commercial managing director Roger Jones dropped in the call. He mentioned Etihad. Obviously, they're expanding as well. And it's not the first time the Etihad has been mentioned, has it, for a showpiece event?
And they've got the links to the RFL. The campus is there. The expansion of the stadium means it's a bit bigger, which probably now is better suited to a grand final.
It previously hosted Magic Weekends.
Yeah, and let's be honest, Old Trafford, the current one, it's not. I know it's got the history of the grand final, but it's not the state-of-the-art facility that it once was. It's getting the big expansion, and then it's probably too big for a grand final by then if that goes through, isn't it? But yeah, it'll be interesting to see how that goes. And the same with Wembley. We've had the conversation on this show about Wembley and its future involvement with Rugby League, and that will split opinion in the same way. Because
your opinion's quite one way, isn't it? You think, are you ready for a sort of a move away from the capital?
Yeah. No, it's not so much the capital. I'm away from Wembley.
Yeah, okay.
It just doesn't do it for me. Which
we saw it in the first Ashes test, didn't it, with the atmosphere.
Yeah,
it wasn't there, was it?
You saw it more when you got to the second test.
Yeah,
and how good that was compared to Wembley,
and how on top the English fans were on top of the Kangaroos.
100%. It's certainly not a home venue, and as a neutral venue, I don't know. I preferred Tottenham in 2022. I just did. So
I think the big thing for me is you've also got to involve the players in this conversation, because ultimately, you know, their dream is maybe playing at Wembley or playing at Old Trafford. That's the goal at the end of the season. That's the motivation every year. Well, the motivation, it will because they want to win. They want to lift trophies and all that. But I would be interested to hear players' perspective on playing Etihad versus Old Trafford because of the history, playing Wembley versus elsewhere because of the history. I'd just be interested in a couple of players. So maybe you can get them on the show next year with yourself and Kyle Amo and ask them about it.
Just on Magic, it now means there's no 18 playoff. Good.
Yep.
Excellent. No.
But you can't reward finishing bottom mid of the table, can you, and making it in the playoff?
Well, the team would have finished in the bottom half and made the playoffs.
You shouldn't be rewarded for that.
Ultimately, what's happened, and I don't know if people are quite aware why there was the change. The reason that 18 playoff was brought in or was proposed was commercially it meant a larger playoff series, which means more centralised events, because there are RL commercial events, playoff games. So you would have had more games, more money. That was the logic. That's the reason why Magic has gone with an extra rivals round, because commercially that makes more sense to have more fixtures of your rivals playing together. So it ended up being an argument of how do you make Magic Weekend commercially as strong as an 18 playoff. Magic is clearly more appealing as an event than an expanded playoff, but the extra games did bring in more money. So that's what it came down to. And I think that's ultimately why Magic became a rivals round. If that's how it is, that's how it is. I do just laugh at the fact that, going back to what we said at first, we've got to have 14 teams because it's loop fixtures.
And then to add a loop fixture.
Which everyone who was against 14 teams coming in now, me included, said we've always had loop fixtures. Why does it suddenly matter? It was a weak argument for me. And the fact that they've now backtracked tells to me that they know it was a weak argument.
Yeah. I think that another flaw in that, I don't know if we were going to mention it today, is there's no gap for an international break.
Yeah.
Whether it be a game or just an on-field session, it doesn't look like Shaun Wane is going to get that. If Shaun Wane is still in the position, obviously the RFL are going to have a review on his position.
I've been told we'll know by Christmas whether Shaun Wane's staying or not.
Do you think he will? I think he will.
I don't think he will.
Do you think there'll be a change?
We
could do a whole episode on this, but the biggest issue for me there is that you're then asking a head coach to come in with no training session, no game, and going straight into a World Cup with players that he's only met a couple of times through the year.
I'm not necessarily saying I think Shaun Wane should go, but I think they'll make a change, and I think we'll know in the next couple of weeks. So we will see.
That's quite a scoop that from you there, I'd say. That we'd know.
Yeah, well, time will tell. Time will tell. Let's move on to recruitment, because there's been quite a lot while I've been away. While the show's been away. Where to start? Should we start with Harry Newman? Mm-hmm. But I want to go with Harry Newman mainly because of Perth Bears. Harry Newman is the standout from a Super League perspective heading over there, but he's not the only one. Toby Sexton has already gone. We reported on Wednesday night that Isaac, I can't pronounce.
I was waiting for this. I was waiting for
Tino's brother. Tino's brother. I'm not gonna embarrass myself by trying to pronounce it, even though I heard it all off season. Tino's brother is signing for the Bears as well. So Catalans have lost 2 new signings. They haven't even played for the club yet to the Bears. 2 from London have gone.
before playing a game.
I hate to say it, I think they are going to pluck talent from Super League left, right and centre before the start of next year. I don't think we've seen the end of this.
Yeah.
And it's a worry.
It is a worry for Super League because they're going to take the quality away because they need to build a 30-player squad. And then after that, there's another franchise in the PNG team joining. It is a worry for Super League. And you would imagine that the PNG players over here might have some interest in going to play for that franchise. And that's a lot of players. London Broncos have recruited a lot. Lee Leopards obviously have their superstars there. It is a worry for Super League that we're going to lose some quality to the NRL here.
Yeah. And there's nothing we can do about it. Worried. Just on Newman, thoughts?
Good for him. I like to see him take his opportunity. Obviously, he got that one opportunity in the Ashes test in that last game, and I think he played pretty well there. I think he was up there for meter makers, and I think he's aggressive. He's an aggressive player, isn't he? So I'm looking forward to seeing how he goes in the NRL and testing himself out there. Yeah, good for him for earning that deal. But it goes back to the point that we're going to lose some star players now. Leeds Rhinos have lost a very good centre there. Any players that are off contract now as the transfer window opens for 2027 and then the season after, it's going to be scary for clubs to have to negotiate with some of those star players.
Just a side note, I'm a little bit worried for Leeds. They've already lost Newman. Jared O'Connor's off contract, Jake Connor's off contract, Keenan Palacia's off contract. There's a couple more in there. They can speak to clubs now, and with an expanded competition, they are going to be speaking to clubs now because there will be interested parties. We know what they're all saying about the player pool shrinking. They're all mindful of Perth. I can see Leeds losing more players, and that's
scary.
That's a worry. It's a worry. I'm
not sure how I feel about this early transfer deadline of knowing where players are going to play and announcing it before the ball's been kicked for the 2026 season. I'm not sure where I stand on that yet.
I just think it's going to happen. Let's be honest, Josh. Before it was December 1st and it was May 1st, how many transfer stories did you know about before May 1st?
True.
They were all getting done anyway. Yeah. Why pretend they're not?
Yeah, conversations.
I get the point. I get the point. It's ridiculous that Catalans are losing 2 players that haven't even played for them. And I get it. It's silly. But it happens. There's no point trying to pretend it doesn't happen. And I thought fair play to Leeds for just announcing that Newman had gone.
Yeah, and there is on the flip side of that is that Leeds fans know that this is going to be their last season watching Harry Newman and watching hopefully him rip it up for one last time before going to the NRL. So I can see the two sides of it. I'm not sure. I sit on a bit of a fence on that one.
Jackson Hastings to Saints. Fascinating deal.
Yeah. I mean, you were on a break, but for the rest of us, it came out of nowhere. I don't know if you had any incline before it was announced, but back here on a 12-month deal?
No comment. I was off work and I was
away from the phone, yeah. A 1-year deal at St Helens, and interestingly he said he'd be open to staying, but he wants to earn that. It's great to have Jackson Hastings back in Super League. He lit it up with Salford, he lit it up with Wigan. He's a character, he's a great player, he's a fantastic player to watch on the field. I'm excited to have him back. I think I ranked him as number 1 of recruitments, overseas recruitments for next season, which drew some comments. But yeah, I stand by it. I think he's a great player to watch. I'm really looking forward to him.
Right, here's my question to you then. Where does he play?
I think he plays alongside Sailor with Johnny Lomax on the bench. And I think that might happen as well. Now Johnny Lomax has passed on that captaincy to Matty Lees, that he might not be a starter under Paul Rowley.
So you're playing Wellesby at 1?
Yeah, Sailor, Hastings.
Not playing Whitby?
Not playing Whitby just yet. Interestingly, Jackson Hastings said to Jenna Brooks that a big part of his conversations was developing Whitby and making him not just the next great St Helens halfback, but the next great English halfback. So that was interesting. But yeah, I think maybe not Whitby. He might get a couple of chances. I think he played 11 games last season, so again he might get the same. But now with Jackson Hastings, you could see him not getting pushed back, but maybe not playing maybe as much. But that development, he'll develop under Jackson Hastings. But yeah, him and Sailor, and then maybe Lomax on the bench.
Who's playing at 13?
That's the big question, is it? Because they've given David Clemmer the 13 shirt. Now, I think he's only played actual loose forward 36 times or something like that in his career. So I'm not convinced he starts
Not the way Paul Rowley plays rugby league. He's always had a ball playing loose forward, and he's not a ball playing loose. He's a very good player, but he's not a ball playing loose.
No, you want to give him the ball, don't you, and just say charge and cause some chaos. So while they've given him the 13 shirt, I'm not convinced he plays loose forward. Now they've got Shorrocks.
My thinking is that when I'm trying to tee you in here, I just wonder if Jackson Hastings 31 becomes Jackson Hastings 13.
And then with Lomax and Sailor in the halves?
I think maybe Whitby plays.
right? Over Lomax.
Mm.
Right, interesting. I have seen, people suggest Hastings at 13. I rate Shorrocks. I know.
I like Joe Shorrocks.
Yeah, I know.
I think
he's not a headline sort of signing that Saints maybe wanted, but he is a solid player and he knows Paul Rowley. He attacks the way Paul Rowley wants to attack. He brings an excitement game. I think he's a solid recruitment.
I also think people need to realise Joe Shorrocks is a James Bell replacement, not a Morgan Knowles replacement.
Mm-hmm.
He's the 9-13. And then if you look at it that way, it doesn't look like a bad signing.
Yeah, because they're pretty short in the 9s. They've got Darryl Clark. They've got that
Jake Burns,
yeah, the youngster. So they've really got 2, unless they've got some more youngsters coming through. 2, an injury to them, and
precisely.
Yeah, you're short.
Hastings
so
can play 9 as well.
Yeah, so
played 9. He played 9 for Wigan, didn't he? A bit.
Yeah.
Who knows? Interesting at Saints. Still after a centre. It's not Jake Avarillo. I saw that while I was away, and I'm like, never. And then I rang and never.
Nothing
so
there.
Don't know where that.
But they do need a centre because they're short there, aren't they?
Well, are they? Robertson, Percival, Cross.
Dion Cross can play that, but just because he has been given the 5, but you've got Dagnall who can play centre. And even if you can move Dion Cross to the centre and Dagnall to the wing, can't you? And Dagnall was fantastic before he was injured.
I think maybe they need a utility back just to cover a bit of all bases. But we'll see. Going from the big hitters as such to the bottom end, we've got 3 new clubs who've all brought in signings. Standouts, Toulouse, Tyler Dupree. Interesting move. I think it was left field for most people, that. Good signing for Toulouse, though. Very good signing for Toulouse.
Very good signing. He has that experience in Super League. Kind of fell down the pecking order, didn't he, at Wigan towards the end of last year. He wasn't getting many games. So, yeah, he'll add a bit of Super League experience to Toulouse. I don't think they've recruited heavily, have they, this off-season that we've seen? They've sort of sticking to what they've had in the Championship in recent seasons and seeing how that goes. So that'd be interesting to watch next season. York, I think, are at max overseas capacity now. I think they've recruited all 10. So it'll be interesting to see how their new signings go and how they can develop under Mark Applegarth, who we all know and all rate as a head coach. So it's good to have him back in Super League too.
Paul Vaughan, obviously, is probably the standout there.
Yeah.
But there's been some big ones. And then Bradford.
The big one there was Ryan Sutton.
Interesting signing that, because he hasn't played a lot of rugby. He's been off the field for a long time, but once upon a time, he probably still is a very good rugby league player. They just got to keep him on the field, haven't they?
Yeah. I've not got the stats on the top of my head, but it's not a lot of games, is it? It might even be single in the last couple of years. So, yeah, it's getting him fit. And we've seen what he could do. He was killing it at Wigan, and that's how he earned his move to the NRL. I think he started with Canberra Raiders, and he was first graded there. And then, he's had a few unlucky years with injury. So get him fit, and I'm excited to see him back in Super League as well. That was a big signing as well, I think, for them, and someone that probably Bradford needed to a little punch forward for them back in the top flight.
Quick question before we move on. Who finishes highest of the 3?
That is a big question. You should have asked me this one before. Honestly, I probably see them all finishing the bottom 3. I don't think that's an outrageous thing to say, is it? So it's deciding who finishes the top of those 3 at the bottom of the table. I'll go with York because of Mark Applegarth.
I think Toulouse. I just think home, and if you don't go with the right attitude, or you've had a tough spell and then you have to travel to France, I think a few will get caught out. So I think Toulouse will finish the highest of the 3.
I had some awful predictions last season, didn't I? So
I think we all
did. We should have done an episode or a piece looking back on them all, but maybe we were too embarrassed.
No, we shouldn't. No, we shouldn't. Let's leave that. Warrington, Kalepi Tanganoa.
Good signing. Interesting, the one that you broke this week on who Hull KR are looking at, because I thought that signing made sense for Warrington because Hull KR have too many back rowers at the minute. They've obviously got Dean Hadley in there. Whitbread can play in there. They've recruited...
Got Batchelor, Reece Martin.
Yeah, Reece Martin, who obviously was picked over Kalepi Tanganoa in the run-in to the grand final. Then they've just signed Tom Whitehead, who's a back rower. They've just promoted a youngster who's a back rower from the academy. So I thought this is a move that makes sense. But then was the name that you put out this week with Hull KR?
Cal Lawton.
Yeah, he can play in the back row. But the thing is he can play a bit of everywhere, can't he?
Well, the key for them is he can play hooker.
Yeah, and again, it's a bit like St Helens where they've got 2 hookers in Jez Litton and Bill Leyland.
Yeah. And
so they need that sort of third one to cover injuries.
And that was it. They'd lost Mickey McAlorum, and I was having a brief look at the squads and try to figure out where my concerns would be in Hull KR's with hooker. Because if Jez Litton was to have an extended period down, Bill Leyland becomes your number one, has to play big minutes. Where he played quite a few games last year, but he played 10 minutes here, 15 minutes there. If you were going in with him for a long period of your season as your first choice, you then worry for Hull KR. Carl Lawton probably fits that.
Yeah.
That Mickey McAlora role, he probably only played 20 minutes a game.
Yeah. Yeah, because Jez Litton can do the rest. Yeah, I mean, Leyland's a great player. Willie Peters rates him highly, but he's sort of still developing, isn't he, and learning his Super League trade. For Warrington, Klepetangano, I think he's a great signing. He'll add a bit of punch that they need through the pack. I think
they had no strike in the back row. Well, they do now.
Yeah. I mean, the biggest concern at Warrington for years now has been their pack. And again, I'd be interested. They've obviously recruited heavily in the pack this year, so it'll be interesting to see if they can stand up so they can be alongside the likes of the Wigans and the Hull KRs this year.
Yeah, I agree. There's been a few other bits and bats here and there, but nothing of massive note beyond that. I mean, Saints have signed Clemmer, which we've kind of touched upon. Cass had done all their business before.
Yeah.
Lee had done it all before.
I think the other maybe biggest one is Oliver Wilson to
Ollie
Wigan.
Wilson. I was just going to say an Ollie Wilson to Wigan, which I think is a really under the radar signing. I think he could play for England in the World Cup.
He has one cap to his name already.
He does.
I think he played 2023 against France.
23 or 24 in the mid-season test. Yeah.
So developing. I mean, Huddersfield were gutted to lose him, and you could tell that by just the statement they put out because they rated him so highly. So Wigan have got a really good player on their hands there, and with a team like that around him, he's gonna flourish, isn't he? Yeah,
I agree. Right, quickly as we wrap up, very early predictions for the year.
Very early predictions. Right, who at the start of December?
Who is your Man of Steel tip?
Well, you backed Jake Connor all throughout last season, didn't you? And it was between Jake Connor, Mikey Lewis, and Jay Field last year. Jackson Hastings can go well, but I always lean towards Bevan French at Wigan if he can have a fit season. If he can have a fit season and do well for Wigan, and just the way the system is, I think Bevan French will be up there.
Hard to argue with that. I've got two. Jez Litton.
It's not like you not to have one answer.
Jez Litton.
Yep.
Ended last year unbelievably well. Took the form into probably England's best player, or one of England's best players. So there's him. Move on because of what I'm going to say next. Lachlan Lamb.
Yeah.
Or
he was unlucky.
Or the real curveball is David Armstrong.
Yes, spoke to Adrian Lamb this week, and he said that he'll be available for round 4, round 5. Now, the biggest headache he has there is Bailey Hodgson was really, really good last year. Really good. I think he ended up the second on the list for most meters made. He was really good at fullback. So Lammy has a headache on his hand next year picking between them two. Armstrong was obviously the favourite for last year before the injury. It'll all depend on how he can bounce back quickly from that injury. But Lachlan Lamb was unlucky not to be in that top 3.
Yeah.
He was the most assists all season. Really good. Lee had a historic year, finished the highest. And
should have been in the dream team for me.
Yeah, he was unlucky not to, and unlucky not to be in that top 3. I don't know who would fall out of that top 3 for him, but yeah, he was lucky not to be in those conversations. So yeah, I wouldn't disagree with that one.
Right. Who's winning the trophies? Now, I'll let you revisit this closer to the season. I just want to know where your head's at right now.
I should have given this more thought. Do I go a Smellsy and do a Hull KR, all 3? And again, Hull KR are up there, aren't they? Wigan will be hurting, I think. Wigan will probably have a massive pre-season, so they'll be hurting for something. So I don't know what way, but I think it's just split between them two again. It'd be interesting to see how Leeds do, if Leeds can go one better. Obviously, they fell to that sort of, that sort of shock last-minute upset to St Helens. I don't think St Helens make it in the first season under Paul Rowley, but I could revisit that. I might revisit that in round 1 or 2. I think they'll be up there in the semi-finals. They might be maybe St Helens for a Challenge Cup. So I'm not against everything, but Wigan's and the KRs again, isn't it? Which is easy for me to say in December now.
I think Lee win the League Leaders Shield.
Great shout. And I know we have a couple of Lee listeners on here, so I'm not against it.
I absolutely don't think Hull KR win the League Leaders because the start of their campaign is horrid. World Club, Vegas, come home, go to France, back, go to France. It's going to take them out, and they'll have a spell like Wigan did.
Well, I was going to say the two teams that went to Las Vegas last year, in Wigan and Warrington, struggled, didn't they? We never really saw Wigan hit that first gear, and Warrington struggled all year. So you're probably right.
I also think for that reason, KR won't win the Challenge Cup. I don't think they'll defend that. So I've got Lee to win league leaders. Challenge Cup is it's draw, isn't it?
Yeah, it's whoever. To put out there, I'll go St Helens a Challenge Cup, I think.
Okay. I don't have a Challenge Cup tip. I find it very hard to tip the Challenge Cup just because it is the look of the draw.
Yeah.
Grand final, I don't think Lee would win the grand final.
Would you be surprised if Lee made the grand final? No.
Really like
what came so close last year, didn't they?
My only real concern for Lee is, and similar to what I've got with Leeds, as I mentioned earlier, they've got a lot of big players off contract, and they'll be talking about the futures. Is that a distraction? I think Lee probably needs to get them wrapped up one way or another, whether they're staying or whether they're going, so everyone's got clear minds. That's one thing that would worry me about Lee, because I've seen this happen before when you've got too many players off contract. The dynamics behind the scenes just get too heavily impacted.
I think they have one of the longest lists of players
and the big players as well.
Yeah, they are. Even the likes of Owen Trout is off contract.
Owen Trout, Myla Hanley.
Owen Trout's openly said that he'd be interested in the NRL. So the back of the mind, he might be trying to get that somewhere.
Well, you've got Trout, Hanley, Mulhern off the top of my head. Like three of your
big ones,
big players.
I mean, Josh Charnley, we don't know what he'll go on for next year. Keenan Brand's off contract as well. These are just players that have been central to Lee's success in recent seasons. So there's a lot of them there.
But if they can fix that up, I've got high hopes for Lee this year.
Who did you say for grand final?
I didn't.
No, neither have I, because
I don't.
It's scary to make a prediction in December.
Yeah. I'd still.
I will.
Wigan.
Yeah, I know. I fell for never doubting Wigan last year, and then they just never sort of delivered. So I don't think they can go through another season like that. I don't think Matt Pete will have another season of having no trophies.
You'd be foolish to write off all KR. I think
you was obviously a big supporter of Leeds. Would you see them up there?
Just the concerns over player movements putting me off a little bit at the minute. But yeah, possibly.
Could you see? Put you on the spot here. Jake Connor, one of them. Could you just see him resign at Leeds? Or
could see him moving. I could see him resign. I could absolutely see him moving as well.
Right. Okay. Interesting.
Wouldn't shock me.
Interesting.
We'll see. Right, and on that note, we'll wrap up. I think been lovely to speak to you again.
Thanks for having me back.
Hopefully never again. And that was all from this week's Back 10. Lovely to reacquaint with you all. Hope you've not missed us too much. We'll be back again in a couple of weeks for another catch up, and then we've got plenty of big plans to tell you about for the 2026 season. More of that to come soon. But for now, take care and enjoy your rugby league. All the best.